Alright, so here's what you need to know. In Hawkins, Indiana lives a small group of friends. These friends are Will, Mike, Dustin, and Lucas. One day Will disappears, which sets into motion a barrage of events. You see, after Will disappears, his friends, his mom Joyce, and the local police chief Hopper goes looking for him. His mom then finds out that he's stuck in a place called the Upside Down, but she looks like a crazy person trying to explain it to her oldest son Jonathan, and that's because the Upside Down is a parallel dimension where I assume nothing but monsters live. And if you're unlucky enough to get stuck there, just like Barb, may you rest in peace. Anyways, while everybody and their mothers are searching for Will, Nancy, who's Mike's older sister, breaks up with her boyfriend Steve, which was apparently the perfect opportunity for Jonathan to be noticed by Nancy, and the two of them get closer to each other. We then find out that there's a lab in Hawkins that opened a gate to the Upside Down, and is also experimenting on people that have special abilities, like Eleven, who has telekinetic abilities, but every time she uses her powers, she has a nosebleed. Eleven then breaks free, gets closer with Mike and the gang, and is then adopted by Hopper. Monsters such as Demogorgons start going after the kids, but thanks to Eleven they were able to stop it, and also save Will from the Upside Down. Eleven is then presumed missing, but she's actually just chilling it with Hopper. Season 2 is surprisingly much more simple. At the start of the summer, Max and Billy move into town. Max joins Will in the gang, while her older brother Billy is just mean.
He's the worst guy in the world.
Anyways, Will gets possessed by something called the Mind Flayer because he just can't catch a break, and there's a bunch of demi-dogs in tunnels under Hawkins, all thanks to that secret lab. So the kids, including Max, Hopper, Joyce, and Joyce's new boyfriend, Bob, goes to put an end to the lab once and for all. But they only did this after getting the Mind Flayer to leave Will's body.
No.
What?
He likes it cold.
Anyways, at the lab, Bob is unalived by a demi-dog. So, rest in peace, Bob. Hopper, with the help of Eleven, then closes the portal. I know I keep saying with the help of Eleven, but Eleven actually does everything by herself. Everyone else is just watching her the whole time, especially in Season 3. And speaking of, onto Season 3. There's a lot of relationships in this season, so let me just run them down. First, we have Mike and Eleven, who are very bad at expressing themselves. Next, we have Lucas and Max, who are on and off all season. Then we have Dustin, who has a long-distance relationship with a girl by the name of Susie. Jonathan and Nancy are still together. Steve meets a girl at work by the name of Robin, who I think he's into. Anyways, with that being said, here's what happens. Some Soviets come in and build yet another secret lab in Hawkins. This time it's under the mall called the Starcourt Mall. They then start blasting the gate that Eleven closed with a weapon trying to open it. Doing so, we find out that the Mind Flayer is back in action, and Will still has a slight connection to him because he was once connected to him. This time, however, the Mind Flayer possesses Billy, and it is much more terrifying this season. Anyways, Joyce realizes that something's not right in the town and tries to find out with the help of Hopper. This leads them to finding and kidnapping a Russian engineer by the name of Dr. Alexei, who is honestly the nicest guy in this show. And with Alexei's help, they find out that there's another lab in Hawkins. And that was about all Alexei could do because he was quickly unalived by Grigori, a guy who believes that Alexei defected. Anyways, Dustin, Steve, Robin, and Erica, who is Lucas's younger sister, work together to find out what the Russians are up to. Then have the other half of the gang, Mike, Will, Lucas, Eleven, and Max, along with Nancy and Jonathan, who then get attacked by the Mind Flayer, and his little friend Billy. Luckily, thanks to Eleven, they were able to hold off the Mind Flayer, but because Eleven has been overexerting herself with her powers, they disappear, probably because all that blood loss. That being said, Hopper and Joyce infiltrate the lab to put an end to the weapon that's opening the portal by blowing it up. Before they could do so, the Mind Flayer pins Eleven, about to kill her, but Billy steps in and sacrifices himself to save Eleven.
How about that?
It buys enough time for Joyce to set the bomb, but sadly Hopper was caught in it and it looks like he dies to everybody else. After everything calms down, Joyce, being an absolute genius, decides to finally move away from Hawkins, along with her two sons Jonathan and Will. She also takes Eleven with her because they all think Hopper's dead. Because they're moving, most of their relationships were probably going to be tested. The season then ends in a Soviet prison where they really treat people like snacks, to Demogorgons, which is also where Hopper is being held prisoner. In Season 4, Hopper makes quick work of the Demogorgon and is rescued by Joyce and Murray.
Nice.
If I'm being honest, Season 4 is kind of boring, but there are three major things you need to remember. The first is that everyone back in Hawkins, that's everyone excluding Eleven and Will, deal with a new spree of murders caused by the villain, Vecna, and their new Dungeon Master Eddie is sort of blamed for all these murders, especially the one involving Chrissy. Eleven then goes through a training arc with Dr. Brenner in order to become strong enough to defeat Vecna. And during that training arc, we find the second important thing you need to remember. And that is that not only did Dr. Brenner experiment on a bunch of kids giving numbers, but that Eleven and Number 1 used to be very close. Eleven then helps Number 1 break free of Dr. Brenner, and in turn Number 1 betrays Eleven and turns all the other kids into past tense. Eleven then loses her mind and opens the first gate into the Upside Down, sending Number 1 into it, where he seems like he had plenty of time to become the series villain known as Vecna. And in Season 4, he's taken out a bunch of traumatized kids in order to turn the whole world into the Upside Down, because each kill opens a portal, and he's just a few bodies away from a nuke. And speaking of traumatized kids, Max is one of those traumatized kids. And not only is she one of them, but she's the final piece to Vecna's puzzle. Taking her out will send the world into the upside down, in theory. Which brings us to the third thing we need to remember. Max lost her brother Billy back in season 3. And even though he was a bad guy,
but this does not mean you're a bad guy.
He was still her brother. This sends Max into a depression, and she also isolates herself from the group, which was actually super easy to do because the group is in shambles. Will and 11 are in California, which doesn't help. Mike only really cares about 11 and even confesses his undying love for her, which only leaves Dustin, Lucas, and Erica. Dustin is occupied with the mystery of Vecna, and Lucas, even though he notices and tries his best to help Max, it just wasn't enough. And Vecna eventually gets to her and she dies in the arms of Lucas. Fortunately, thanks to the power of friendship, 11 is able to partly revive Max, which puts her in a coma.
She's alive right now, okay?
Yeah, she's alive. Unfortunately, 11 isn't able to save everybody because there's 2 notable deaths that happened this season. First one is Dr. Brenner, and let's be honest, good riddance. And the second one is Eddie, who sacrifices himself in the Upside Down while they were searching for Vecna. Rest in peace. Season then ends with what seems like a giant portal opening up in Hawkins, the entire gang reuniting and ready to face season 5.
Finally!
And yeah, I hope I answered all of your questions, but if I didn't, be sure to leave a comment. I read them all. And if you like that video and want to see more like it, leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. That's it.